Welcome, everybody, to your Friday drive-by on this edition of Service Drive Revolution, where we answer your questions. Also, just keep in mind that when you call in a question, you might be helping somebody who's scared to call in but has the same question, but maybe they feel like it's dumb or they're just shy. And so you're helping your fellow man by calling in. The phone number, get something to write with or open up notes on your phone. You ready? 833-3-ASK-SDR, 833-3-ASK-SDR. If we answer your question on the big show, we're going to send you a swag bag of Service Drive Revolution hats, t-shirts, stuff like that you can't buy. You only get it by calling into the show. And I'm feeling a little nostalgic before we get to the question, is I'm realizing that here very soon in the next few weeks, we will no longer be in this office. We are moving. So we've been here over 10 years and we're relocating. The set is going to be different, but the same. We're taking the furniture, but the background is going to be a little bit different. But our ability to film videos and training and, we're launching leadership training and some other things is going to be dramatically enhanced by our relocation. But it is sad. I am nostalgic. So, there's that. Okay, let's get to the question.
Hey, guys. Big fan of the show. I've been watching you since I was in the third-party shop game, and then I've been in the dealership game for about 3 months now, and I've actually been loving it. So my question to you guys is, in my particular dealership, we don't have loaners. And they're really scarce on rentals, which plays a big part in obviously how you guys talk about the customer experience. So, they want to blame the COVID, they want to blame the chip shortage, they want to blame the car shortage, which is all true, and I suppose fine and dandy, but what would you say, what can an advisor do? What can a service manager do? What can the dealership do to continue the good customer experience when all we get is, me as an advisor, all we get is a no. There's no loaners, there's no rentals. We basically have to figure it out, without. So I'm wondering what advice you can give me.
Yeah, so good question. The one thing that I learned when I started going around fixing service departments all over the country that surprised me in the sense that I worked for a dealer as an advisor that had 2 loaners, and they, as an advisor, you never were giving those loaners out. And then I would go to dealerships, and the only connection between the customers feeling entitled to loaners or not was whether they were offered or not, and they were trained to expect one or not. And I really paid attention to that because it's a big expense, right? And if loaners needed to be eliminated in a business model in order to make the business profitable, the advisors usually would have a hard time in the beginning. But if you hired new advisors coming in and they didn't know any different, the customers kind of changed their expectations. And so just kind of keep in mind as an advisor that your beliefs, your past experiences have a context here. But if you started fresh day one on the job and you didn't have loaners and you didn't know any different, you would just navigate. And if customers asked for a loaner, you would explain that, in the current situation, we don't have them, but I can provide you with a number of somebody who can get you a rental. You don't need to say no. You just need to offer options. And you can offer the customer options in a way that subtly reminds them that it's their car, that transportation is, their responsibility without coming right out and saying that. through, giving them 2 or 3 different options, or, hey, we have two agencies we work with. One, we have a rate that's 35 a day. The other one is 45 a day. But sometimes the 35 a day doesn't have any cars. And, you can kind of distract them a little bit with giving them options and deflecting it that way. And, just if they call you on it, like, hey, you had loaners before, you can just point out that the way that the market is right now, there is not a surplus of cars in order for us to do that, and they will understand. But it'll come down to your relationship and your beliefs more than anything else. So just keep that in mind. That was one thing when I started going around that surprised me. These stores would have these huge loaner expenses, and everybody was entitled to a loaner. And that was just their belief system in that dealership with that customer base. But it really wasn't exclusive to the brand or to a market in the sense. It was just, that's how we've always done it, or that's the way we do it. But it was easy to change. So you're going to have to navigate it. It might be change and you don't like it, but remember your attitude and what you bring to it is really going to be the determining factor here, because if you have equity with your customers and you're connecting with them, it's an inconvenience, but it isn't going to change your relationship with them. And everybody right now in every industry understands that there's a disruption to the old way we used to do things. And you just kind of got to point that out. That's it. Great question, though. Thank you. Next question.
I am at a different location now. I'm now working for a mom and pop dealership instead of a mom and pop mechanic shop. I was promoted into a lot management position, but unfortunately failed to meet their expectations and then got demoted. I would like to stay within the automotive industry, but it seems that what I'm doing as a lot manager or lot porter or lead, if you will, is not leading me down the path of success. Neither was service advising. So what else can I do within the business of being in a dealership other than a salesman to succeed in a career with vehicles?
That's hard to answer in the sense that I don't know why you're failing in those. Like, is it your leadership and how others perceive you? Is it issues with customers? Like, what is it? But I would say that if as a porter or as a service advisor, you're struggling, I don't know that it's a different position that you want to be looking for. I think maybe you need to do an inventory of how you're perceived and understand that how people see you or how you're affecting them is in your control, right? Because you're, I always say, like, if I speak in an event or I go somewhere and a comment comes back later, like, oh, that Chris guy is a jerk, or, whatever. That was the person's perception. And I can say, well, that's not my fault. And it would be easy for me to deflect it on them. But the truth of the matter is it kind of is my fault. Like, I probably in that situation didn't go out of my way to endear to them. I probably didn't go out of my way to make them feel like I was genuinely interested in them, right? I was probably distracted. And then I could say, well, when I'm speaking in an event or I'm somewhere, there's so many people coming at me and so many people want my attention and all that. But that's also an excuse. But the truth is I didn't make a concentrated effort to connect with that person. So if they perceived me to be something negative, that's their perception. And me saying that their perception is wrong isn't going to make me better. And me blaming it on them is really, futile in the sense that I can't change them. I can only change my behavior and what I do. So I would really take a hard look at how you're being perceived and how you can take responsibility and change those behaviors that are causing people to perceive you as difficult or unappealing in that role. Because I don't know a position in the dealership, all joking aside, even parts, where it's not important to get along with people or to be perceived as somebody of value. So the thing that you can change is yourself. You're not going to change everybody else. So I would work really hard at figuring out what it is you're doing that has you perceived in a way that isn't attractive to everybody else. And probably, at the end of the day, isn't how you want to be perceived. I'll tell you, like, another thing that happened to me a lot early in my career is people were intimidated by me. And so it would happen. I remember one time I was interviewing somebody. So I'm the general manager of a dealership, and I was interviewing somebody, and they said to me, they go, man, you're not as intimidating as they said you were. You're a pretty nice guy. And I go, who told you I was intimidating? And they said, oh, the HR department said, that you make people cry and not to be offended and all this stuff. And I was like, they gave you that disclaimer? So after I called in the two people in HR, and I'm like, tell me what this disclaimer is that you're giving people before I interview them. And I said, I don't want you doing that because, like, if you think about the first thing, if I'm interviewing somebody and I make them cry and it's a friendly interview, they're not meant for our business because our customers are way worse than me, right? But also, I know that I'm intimidating in certain situations, and I can use that or I can turn it off. And so just understanding that I'm being perceived a certain way and understanding when to turn it off and when to turn it on is powerful. So you need to pay attention to what it is you're doing that has, a negative effect and use it to your advantage, not to your disadvantage. And so you're going to have to disassociate a little bit. You're going to have to be a little selfless and pay attention to how other people are reacting. But I mean, one thing when I started going into service departments again, after I owned a dealership, I stopped wearing suits because it's like I'm intimidating enough, and then I come into a dealership and I'm in a suit. It was just, I could tell people were intimidated. And so when I started wearing polo shirts and slacks, people were more comfortable. And so if you're really paying attention, you can see how you're being perceived by people's reaction. Or, are people crossed up? Are they leaving the room? Are they not making eye contact? How they talk? That sort of thing. So all of those things matter in that sense. And, I wanted to wear suits. Like, I had worn suits most of my career, and I had to make some drastic changes to the way I was perceived so people could listen to me, because, they have to like me before they're going to take a chance in changing their menu or giving me their advisors or, all the things that I have to change when I go in to fix the service department. They have to trust and like me, and me saying, well, oh, they're insecure or they just don't like me because I'm in a suit doesn't accomplish anything. And it's within my control to not be intimidating, to smile more, to be more personal, to dress a different way, to create a different outcome. So do an inventory, and the best place for you probably, if you're driven, is to be a service advisor or a salesperson in the dealership and move your way up. And so I wouldn't think about where's the position that allows me to be who I am. Why don't you think more about how can I contribute to the business and to my customers in a positive way by changing the way I act, I behave, to then change their perception. And that maybe at the end of the day is the magic to a lot of things, really. So great question. I know that I'm getting a little personal and deep, but I think that's really what is needed here. So thanks, and have a great weekend, everybody, and we'll see you next time on Service Drive Revolution. Thanks for watching this week's Drive-By. I hope we gave you something to think about over the weekend. We're uploading new stuff every day, so make sure you subscribe and click the bell icon so you don't miss out. If you have a question you'd like us to answer on the show, call 8333-ASK-SDR and we'll answer your question on the show. That's 8333-ASK-SDR. For special deals on our books and training, head over to offers.chriscollinsinc.com. Now that's offers.chriscollinsinc.com. I'm Chris Collins, and I'll see you in the next video.